The new year is a time to make plans for the future and also to reflect on where we currently are. Are we happy with the direction of our lives? And are we happy with the direction of our society? Well, on the latter front, a viral video on Twitter has me a little bit worried. This was the scene as Paris entered 2024. You can see thousands of people amassing to watch the city's firework display. But from this perspective, at least, it appears every single one of them had turned up to the event to experience it via their phones. Now, presumably, each of them will upload an identical video to Instagram or TikTok or wherever else they go to harvest views. You can see some people engaged in reality. If you zoom in here, you can see Palestine flags being waved by a few people in the crowd, but that hasn't distracted everyone else from filming the fireworks on their iPhones, as I say, presumably to upload the same video that everyone next to them has also uploaded. Everyone next to them, everyone in front of them, everyone behind them, I also assume. I mean, I don't know about the French TV schedule, but I imagine that their state broadcaster like ours films those fireworks and puts it on TV. Now, Ash, it's an interesting juxtaposition. A small group of people trying to draw attention to an ongoing genocide and everyone else glued to their phones, all to record exactly the same video.
Michael, you're truly in your uncle era. Like 2024 rolled around and you were like, why do you buy the jeans that already have the holes in them? Why is everybody filming the same thing?
I agree with both of those.
I mean, look, I do actually agree with you. And this is an area where I do actually feel quite like crotchety and conservative, which is that if constant attachment to smartphones and viewing everything through a screen was actually better for human relationships and made us feel closer to a sense of community, capitalism wouldn't be shoving it down our throats as the main way to live and the only way in which you can do things like, have a job and, find a place to live and interact with the state. I think that these are profoundly socially isolating pieces of technology and have been designed in such a way to make us dependent on them. So one is you're dependent on social media for those little explosions of dopamine which occur in your brain. And two, you're less able to seek out that kind of social fulfillment in real life because you've become less well adjusted as a person, and so is everyone else all around you. And I say this as someone who probably has a really unhealthy relationship with their phone. I'm not saying this as someone who's I just take time to go out and smell the flowers and touch grass. I don't touch grass. I have a horrible relationship with social media. And that's why I'm able to say with some confidence that it's a profit model which is dependent on making us less socially capable people.
This is one thing where I differ to some people on the left. I'm not sure it's the profit issue, right? I think it's something fundamental to the technology. And I actually quite like Instagram stories. I like sort of posting occasionally where I am or what I'm doing, because then people respond to you, and it's sort of a way of having sort of nice social connections with people that you sort of only half know. So people who are sort of acquaintances, you can respond, and then that sort of has starts a nice chat. I think it's quite pleasant. But I do think there should be moments when you've gathered there. There's fireworks happening, or you're at a concert, right? And you need to be present. Now, this is me sounding a bit more Gwyneth Paltrow instead of sort of a bit more like an uncle. People need to be more present in society at certain points in time. You can't just go everywhere filming everything. I suppose that was particularly depressing because everyone was waiting for that clock to strike midnight. But I just feel like they should have been kissing the person next to them, giving their friend a hug, being in awe at the fireworks instead of all being sort of little camera people. What can we do about this, Ash?
I actually think taking psychedelics, to be honest. I think that, Mum, if you're watching this, not that I have any experience with such a thing, but I've read in books that if you do take certain psychoactive substances, and of course you're in a safe space and you're in a place where, you are able to sort of get a bit of support, get a bit of help if you start freaking out, all of those caveats, you're not really able to interact with the world through your phone. Like if you ever try looking at a phone screen when you've taken psychedelics, you're just like, oh, what the fuck is this weird thing? So it does force you to be more present. And especially if you're in a group of people where you feel a great deal of affection and there's a lot of trust, it can sort of engender a particular kind of playfulness amongst human beings, which I think is impossible to maintain if you're constantly thinking about how you're being perceived and how you might be commodified and distributed on social media. And I think that one of the reasons why there is this increasing trend towards taking psychedelics, it's why people go on things like ayahuasca retreats or mushroom retreats or, microdose psilocybin, is because they want to feel that sense of real presentness and to be able to have time with themselves and people around them, which isn't being mediated by fundamentally extractive kind of technology. Now, I'm not one of those people that thinks you can opt out of political struggle or politics or material conditions just by taking psychedelics. I also don't think that psychedelics are a cure for capitalism. I mean, capitalism is showing that it's finding a way to, commodify experiences with psychedelics as well, particularly for people who are middle class, very often white, and it means that they're not going to be criminalized for drug possession in the same way as people who are working class and people who aren't white. But I do think that psychedelics can be a way in which we make ourselves less mediated by technology and more present in certain experiences.